When you guys say the Bible is unified, what do you
Yeah.
mean by that? Because if they, watch your videos or listen to the podcast, what you guys aren't doing is kind of just glossing over all the differences. You're showing the literary beauty of each individual author and all of these things,
Yeah.
but yet it all does work together. So, in your words, what does it mean for the Bible to be unified?
Yep. Yeah. Well, so when we say the word Bible, we're talking about two main literary collections. One's the Hebrew Bible. Um, so the Hebrew Bible predates Christianity, predates Jesus. Um, and so this is a collection of ancient Jewish literature that came into existence slowly over the period of a millennium and a half, through a set of dynamics and forces in a history that's so cool and fascinating to learn about. And it's one of those fields in terms of the composition history of the Hebrew Bible. They're truly, with the Dead Sea Scrolls that were discovered in the mid 1900s, we took steps forward in our understanding of the origin of the Bible. And so it's not a done, sealed deal. And it also wasn't done in like a corner of a room with, like a small circle of people trying to take over the world. This is ancient Jewish literature that comes out of the life and history of the ancient Israelites. However, this particular collection emerged out of a group, the perspective the Hebrew Bible is offering doesn't reflect, apparently, it seems, what average Israelites believed in ancient history. This collection comes from a group that held a minority view throughout much of Israel's history. And in the later books of the Hebrew Bible, this is called, the groups that produced all this, the scribes and the prophets. And then they came to call themselves the righteous ones and the remnant and so on. So Israel was an ancient Near Eastern tribal kingdom. But there was this group that was preserving a history and a sense of identity, that they weren't just a random ancient people group, but they were a family called by the Creator God that they believed there was one of, not a bunch, and that was unique. This family had a unique purpose in human history, and that the Creator was going to do something for all humanity through this family. The problem was that this family was really morally compromised and invited a lot of disaster into their lives. And their collective history ended in ruin in an event called the Babylonian exile. And the Hebrew Bible was really went into an intense period of shaping in that period. And out the other side emerged a much shrunken group of ancient Israelites who came back to the land and rebuilt their life there. And a couple centuries go by, and you've got this collection, a diverse collection. So when we say unified, when we're talking about the Hebrew Bible, it's unified the way that like a museum exhibit of artifacts is unified. Period, right? It can be from all different periods, but the final organization and the way that you're being led through a set of ideas intentionally as you go through the exhibit is a unified, it comes from a unified final mind, as it were. And that's the kind of unity that I'm talking about when it comes to the Hebrew Bible. And so, and that collection is coming into its final shape. The Dead Sea Scrolls give us a window into that period. We're talking like in the 200s BC, before last couple centuries before Jesus. Its textual final collection is coming into form, and so when Jesus appears on the scene, he's making claims that this whole thing was leading up to him and to what he was saying and doing, and he believed that he was going to take all of Israel's history to this culminating moment by going to Jerusalem to die on purpose at the hands of the Romans and of his own people. And he also anticipated that this Creator God was going to vindicate him and bring him out the other side. and then do something for the whole creation. And this story is told 4 times over in another collection called the New Testament. And the New Testament stems out of this guy, Jesus, who did this stuff. And then commissioned his followers to go spread the news of what he did, that he was the king of the world. And so we have the letters and writings of his followers. And then we have 4 accounts that all go back to that earliest circle of his followers that came into emergence. And the New Testament, it's 27 books that came into existence, not in a millennia and a half, but like in a few decades. All these texts were written. However, different than ancient Israel, which was a kingdom, the Jesus movement was a very organic, viral movement, going multilingual, cross-cultural from the first years. And so it took more time and a different process for those writings from the apostles. I call them deputies, because I think that word works a little more in English for what the word apostle means. The people that Jesus deputized to represent him. And so it actually took a much longer process for the Jesus movement as it spread, for these original writings to kind of rise to the surface. And so it's in the late 200s, early 300s that you have official groups of Christians saying, these are the writings of the apostles that we're all down for. But what they're doing there is acknowledging what's been happening already for centuries, of people reading and privileging the writings of the apostles. And so the unity of the New Testament is different than the unity of the Hebrew Bible, because the New Testament doesn't come from a single mind in the same way. It doesn't have a final, it's more like, I've used so many different metaphors through the years. It's much more like an aspen forest. That's, aspen forests are like one biological organism. So there's these massive, be square miles of aspen forest, but it's really one thing underneath, all connected. That's like what the Hebrew Bible is. The New Testament is much more like going to a nursery, and like a plant nursery, and similar types of plants, but that all came from the founders of the nursery or something, have been organized into a certain section. But here's the thing, for both the Hebrew Bible and for the New Testament, these collections weren't the only shows in town. The Israelites didn't stop writing books. So there's a whole host of literature around the Bible in all of these periods that were written and well read and popular, but they didn't have the same acknowledgement from the broad array of followers of Jesus. And so this was maybe way too long of an explanation.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so when we say unified, for the Hebrew Bible, it's been editorially unified. For the New Testament, you would say it's thematically unified. It's unified in terms of its content, what it's about. It's all about Jesus and what happened with him, and then the implications of that as the movement spread. And so then when you put all this together, the Hebrew Bible going forward, the writings of the apostles looking back and forward, and the person linking all of it together is Jesus of Nazareth. And he said the whole thing was leading up to him and what he was doing. And then all of it goes out of him and what he did and what he's still doing. So that's what we mean when we say the Bible's a unified story that leads to Jesus.
Well, hey, everyone, I hope you enjoyed watching that clip. You can find the longer interview using the link in the description. But before you go, I wanted to say a quick thank you to our sponsor today, Kindred. Kindred is a ministry that exists to help people reclaim sacred time with God in their daily lives. And they do this by creating these beautiful Bibles complete with full-page photos that will cause you to engage with Scripture in new and profound ways. You'll read more slowly, more contemplatively, and I think you'll really enjoy it. So if you want to check them out, you can go to kindredapostle.com and use the promo code GOSPEL10 for 10% off your order today.